I found a way to make glaives one-shot in PvP, but even with this combo, I would never recommend a glaive, and worse still is I think Bungie may have accidentally nerfed glaives more than they buffed them. Glaives never were able to assert themselves at the top of the pack for special weapons. In fact, when we look at Bungie's reported usage rates in PvP before Season 17, they are competing with trace rifles for the least used weapon archetype for special ammo. Even in PvE, these weapons have always been good, but not great, holding strong when the suppressing glaive mod was around, and since then it hovers right around mid-tier for the current season. In this picture, the Enigma, far and away the easiest to acquire glaive, is holding its spot among the bottom of the top 20 of most used weapons for PvE in Season 17, which again, for this season makes sense because there is quite a bit of mods supporting them. Even with this, however, I think this tells a rather grim tale of the fate of glaives, that they, much like trace rifles, will only ever pop up when they break the game or when someone is just looking to try something different just for the fun of it. The story in PvP is far bleaker than this even. Here are the top most used weapons in PvP. Hopefully none of this is surprising. All of these weapons are either new, a fan favorite, or a staple in the meta. Where are glaives in this list? Over 50 spots down, sharing scraps with a legendary rocket launcher in the frickin' sweet business. But maybe that's not all that bad. Numbers don't show the full picture. I'm sure many of you have weapons you really enjoy that aren't even in the top 50, much like I enjoy my Mida, Rat King, and yes, even Sweet Business. But if anything, that should inform you that even though I found a way to make glaives one-shot in Crucible, I would avoid glaives unless you are explicitly looking to make the game harder for yourself. And what's frustrating is that in previous TWABs, we saw Bungie outline their conscious efforts to try to give glaives a better, more defined spot in the game, as you can see from this screenshot. We will come back to this, but their intent is not exactly what ended up being changed, as we can see the full list of what actual buffs glaives got from this screenshot. And this applies to both PvP and PvE. I know a lot of the footage you're seeing here is PvP, but keep the strikes and stuff in the back of your mind as well. Bungie even went to some great lengths to make quick adjustments in past seasons, just like in Season 16 from this screenshot we can see. Yet, for every step forward this weapon type makes, it takes 2 steps backwards. This is glaive skating, an absolutely thrilling tech that is no longer possible. Why? Because this, apparently, we were able to break out of maps and encounters too easily. While this is understandable to a point, this was the best the glaives ever felt, and now it's gone. Worse still is that it seems hunter dodges in general are no longer capable of canceling a glaive melee like they used to. In other words, glaives are nerfed. Glaives got a buff to their projectile, making them travel faster, but in-air accuracy was changed, making all weapons less consistent, and worse than that, glaives will still often and frequently land ghost shots on targets that either deal no damage despite hitting, deal no damage but give you shield, or deal damage but don't grant you shield. In other words, glaives were nerfed. Glaives now only require 4 hits to reach a maximum shield charge in all activities, but with the special ammo scavenger changes in PvP, of which glaives weren't tuned separately, glaives will not pick up enough shots to be able to effectively deal enough projectile damage to kill a target without a crazy combo like mine. In other words, glaives are nerfed. Now, you may hear my belly aching and griping about glaives and think I'm just a bitter player looking to rake Bungie over the fires, but that's just simply not true. I really want glaives to be awesome. I really do. They are the first entirely new weapon archetype we have seen since Forsaken introduced bows. I love playing with weird and unusual weapons, which hopefully my top most used weapons in PvP demonstrates that. I love the build crafting that Destiny offers. It's why I have so many hours of not touching grass and sunk into this game. So seeing glaives get nerfed, perhaps even unintentionally, makes me not even mad, just disappointed. But for me, I could forgive all of these shortcomings if Bungie had followed through with just one singular promise to allow glaives to work with melee exotics. This is perhaps the oddest behavior I've seen. Bungie is generally really good about communicating something and then following through with it, yet this small intention they themselves stated is the biggest frustration glaives are living with. Currently, not a single exotic melee armor piece works with glaives except for the sealed Occam Car's Grasp, despite Bungie saying that it was their intention to allow them to do so. Now, maybe they're just busy, maybe they got stuff on their plate, sure, but there's just no rhyme or reason to this. Some exotics only require you to deal damage with melees, yet don't work. Some requires kills or powered melees or unpowered and still don't work. And others just simply benefit from using your melee at all and still don't work. So, what are we left with? No matter how much I use glaives, I cannot shake the feeling that they are just like a bow, but with slower projectile speed, less damage, less consistency, and take special ammo, and have their own melee animation and block mechanic. Almost any damage combo that works with glaive projectiles are just plain easier to pull off with a bow. Just like this one-shot damage combo. In order to pull this one-shot off, all you need is the Unstoppable Force perk, which gives you a bonus damage, or really any type of bonus damage will work here just fine, a bit of shield energy, which would require you to hit a target with the projectile beforehand, and a 15% bonus damage from anywhere. In this case, I'm using the Lumina, but an Empowering Rift works just as well, a Charge of Light works just as well, and an enemy willing to shoot your shield within range. So, yeah, it's a lot of setup. Glaives frustrate me. I really want glaives to be good. And again, this is not just a PvP specific thing. How much fun would it be in PvE to have a build built around melees that don't require you to use 1-2 punch and that Titan combo that's ridiculously strong? What if you had a combo that worked with a glaive that is meant to be it's a melee weapon? The thing is a stick with a sharp pointy thing on the end of it. This thing is just screaming, please take me into melee combat. It just feels like such missed potential to have such amazing build crafting and such amazing combos and playstyles built out of this. But as a conclusion, let's talk about what I would change to glaives, because I don't like hurling criticism without backing it up with an alternative. Number one, glaive hit registration needs to be addressed aggressively. There is no excuse for it. The weapon should be consistent for what it's trying to do. Number two, glaives shouldn't have a range stat, they should have a velocity. Give them an effective infinite range, but make their stat determine how fast they get there, just like a rocket launcher would. Again, bows deal the same and often better damage and never have to worry about damage drop-off or a special ammo economy. Number three, glaives need to work with melee exotics. It's just plain and simple. Tune them individually if that ends up being too strong, but as a point I made in other videos, it would be better for the new archetype like these glaives to be too strong, so there is people using them rather than too weak where they do nothing to the gameplay loop we have grown so accustomed to. Number four, either allow glaives to block 100% of damage in PvP and PvE, or just give glaives 50% of their shield energy upon spawning so they're a little bit more usable. Number five, allow glaives to pick up 2 shots per special break. This applies to all exotics that pick up special ammo that aren't a one-shot kill. I'm looking at you, Ariana's Val, but glaives especially need that ammo economy to work with them in order for this to actually end up being in their favor. And sixth, and perhaps the most out there change, so take this with a grain of salt, create a custom animation where you run, block, and then melee with the glaive, causing the user to pole vault and allow a sort of miniature version of glaive skates. I would love to see these be similar to the insect glaive from Monster Hunter. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe and like if you're new. Bless your faces. And deuces.